Stoke Meter. And for lack of better words, we're stoked to have Dan Young on the show with us. Dan is an entrepreneur. And I love this name of this company that he founded right here, Ugly Unicorn Crypto Hedge Fund founder. He's also a mentor, a real estate developer. He's been on the Inc. 500 list multiple times, as well as being on the Intel Board of Advisors. So he's also started, there's this one, when I lived in Utah, I would go past this store called PC Laptops. I had no idea that was one of yours as well. and on top of that, he is committed to helping people grow, develop, and so on and so forth. And we're going to get into that. But without further ado, Dan, thanks for joining us on this show.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Heck yeah. Well, first I want to go into how I learned of you. I live up in Idaho now, and I have a neighbor that is a serial entrepreneur, very successful one. This guy's named Dylan Davis, big, enormous dude. And I remember he was just slaying it. And well, he continues to slay it. And one venture after another. And then this is a couple of weeks ago, he goes, you know, one individual you've got to listen to is Dan Young. And I go, all right, man, let me listen to it. And then I looked at, you're in Utah, man. I couldn't believe it. But again, Dan, this is fantastic to have you on the show. So thank you for making that time.
Excellent. Love to help.
Oh man, I love it. Well, I'm just going to jump right into this because you have such a way about you. The amount of enthusiasm that you exude on your podcast and everyone, it's just amazing. And
thank you.
I know that you had said in one of your podcasts that you grew up in a pretty tough part of California, right? It was a relatively yeah. Go ahead and go in that story, man.
Yeah, well, my dad is an artist. My mom was a bank teller, right? And artists were starving or doing really well. Right. So sometimes we lived in some really bad areas. We lived in like Van Nuys, which is, it's like lower middle class, Sure. And then sometimes we'd live in nicer areas. My dad did better. We moved to Sherman Oaks, So, I had struggles where like we didn't, my parents didn't have enough money to pay the bills, and then had a little bit of abundance as well, and a lot of cyclical stuff. So that kind of conditioned my brain for entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is a crazy roller coaster, and I don't know any entrepreneurs though really that don't have roller coasters, right? So how we deal with that is really, I think, important.
Yeah. Well, and also going back a little bit, your parents are immigrants as well, right?
Yeah, so they came from China during the whole World War II thing, right after that, during the communist invasion, and they were escaping. So they came and all landed in California and started getting jobs there and that.
It's pretty awesome. And quite frankly, I felt a lot of connection as I was listening to your story. My mom is from Japan, and just hearing that grind that she went through. And then also my dad was in Utah during World War II. And so he actually went and fought in World War II back in the time, and just different things that they learned and grew. And I'm just wondering, how did that help you? I mean, that's a degree of grit that I know I don't typically have, but how did that grit transfer over to you, or how did it impact you?
Well, it's double-edged because, in most Asian cultures, you have to be successful, otherwise you're just a failure of the family, and you lose face and honor. And it was tough because like all my cousins were getting master's degrees from UCLA and all this stuff, and I was getting D's and F's because I just had a hard time paying attention in class. So it was really crazy against the grain stuff. But luckily, my entrepreneurial endeavors it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
And, and now I get to hire a lot of these really smart, master's degree people to run a lot of parts of the business, which are essential because they have the focus in their areas that, I don't.
Right.
But, the big skill is just bringing people together towards an outcome, right?
Right.
So it
Right.
was, it was kind of weird though, being that, oddball sheep in the family.
So how did you take us back to your earliest entrepreneurial endeavors? Like, what did that look like?
Mhm.
I'm sure it was pretty
Uh,
rough, not very smooth at the beginning.
yeah, we used to go hang out in Venice Beach, um, there, and there was two things because I was only like 15 years old. But we would sell knockoff sunglasses and like fake name brand shirts and stuff. There was a supplier, this Korean dude, who gave us good deals on sunglasses. So we would resell them. We'd buy them for like $1, and we'd sell them for $10 for each
Oh,
one, or you could buy 3 sets for 20. That's what we'd sell it for. So the profit margins were insane. And sitting on the beach, we could invite, cute girls from high school over to hang out, and have drinks and stuff. You're not supposed to drink at that age, but hang out at the beach, have sunglasses, eat good food, hang out with your bros, go surfing. Awesome. And we would make usually $1,000 to $2,000 a day
oh my
at the beach.
gosh. That's
But
awesome.
we were just aggressive, and so we would grab some of these girls who were like our girlfriends. Hey, like go up to guys and like with this mirror and put the sunglasses on their head, and just be like, "Do you want a pair? Do you want a pair? $10." And so we would pay them a little commission, did a little sales force, and that was the first entrepreneurial endeavor.
So you kind of slayed it from the start.
Yeah, it was crazy. My mom thought I was selling drugs or something. I was selling sunglasses. Stupid. Crazy. But we were so poor though. Sometimes when my dad was not making money, we didn't have enough money to go grocery shopping. She's like, we just got to kind of make do with what we have. So I would go, here, mom, here's $1,000. She's
No.
like, where'd you get that? Are you selling drugs? I'm like, no. I'll give her some sunglasses.
There you go.
Yeah. They're really
Oh,
weird.
that's amazing. Man, 1,000 a day. That's, I mean, even nowadays, I wish my kids were going doing that. I want to send them over to the beach and go talk to your distributor there, man.
Yeah.
But
Well, every time you hustle, you can make money. I mean, right now, someone could do that. Maybe the cost of goods is $3 on Alibaba.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you can sell them for like $15, like
yeah,
or 10. I mean, it can be done if you're
yeah.
willing to sit out in the sun and not complain. But if I was a teenager, just invite some girlfriends out, get some food, and chill out on the beach with some lawn chairs and make money, man. That's fun. Get a suntan.
So
That's
where
why I
did you
look
go?
Hawaiian.
Yeah, where did you go from there as far as like what was next?
Then I started getting really rowdy though because I started like drinking a lot and partying a lot. I just got all the money kind of got to my head as being that young, making that much money, and so I ended up in juvenile hall, got in really
Oh,
big trouble. And then my parents, they're like, you're gonna go to jail forever if you don't get your life together. Your friends are such delinquents. I'm like, So I moved to Utah with my sister. She was working for the university here, and she kind of adopted me for 1 month, and then her husband kicked me out of the house because I was defiance, right? Uh, and then I got a job selling cars and doing telemarketing, selling carpet cleaning, and it wasn't as lucrative actually selling sunglasses, but it was a good skill learning telemarketing and car sales. Um, and then I was making pretty good money again doing that. I think the first month selling cars, I made about 8,000 in commissions that first month, and with carpet cleaning, a few thousand a month, but it was only a couple of days a week, telemarketing.
right.
So that was Utah. Then I got a job in the mall selling computers because I know about computers since I was little, been playing with them. Being a sales manager for Radio Shack, out of all places. And here's the crazy thing. That's where I met my mentor. This old man comes in, fix my ham radio. And I'm like, okay. So I fix it. He goes, what do I owe you? I go, nothing. You just hit loose wires, man. You're fine. He goes, you need a mentor? And I'm like, What's a mentor? I didn't even know. He's like someone who like shows you how life works, man. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, what do you do? And he goes, well, I sold my tech company, software business, and repair business for 2.5 billion. I had 25,000 employees. He goes, let's just go to lunch. You like Chinese food? I go, of course, man. So we go to this like mall food, Chinese food, chowing down. So I listened to him, and in 3 years, I made $1 million.
Wait, that's amazing. And he just offered you to be a mentor right there. That's amazing.
Well, I fixed his radio for free, so he was happy about it. So I'm like, he's in the ham radio, you can hear what they're saying overseas, man. You can hear the secrets. I'm like,
so what was it about that relationship? What was the real difference that made for you?
The big one is framework. He's like, look, man, like you have to get clear on what you want, man. You're just working, you're getting money, you're spending it. So there's 3 ways you're going to make money: selling or your business, right? Yeah. You got to do real estate probably if you can get up. That takes some big down payment money, but also right now stocks. And this is like pre-big internet, So I thought, okay, for my business, I'll stay in tech. That's emerging. This is my friend just made, he made 400 million net out of the deal because they went public, right? Yeah. The second thing I'm just going to work on is, real estate stuff as far as business goes, and also stock investing. So he's like, yeah, you should buy some Microsoft in this company called Apple. So I bought a couple grand worth of each, which, I still have it today. So, which did pretty good because that was the 90s, right? And then he taught me some real estate, physical, like exercise. He's like, he was always rocking around the mall, for like an hour a day. So he's like, yeah, you got to exercise, and be spiritual, meditate. So he's like Yoda, taught me all the ways. So, simple.
And I know that health is a huge thing to you. And almost every podcast I heard, there was someone that you brought to the table that was working out with you. I mean, that's a heck of a gym that you went to, but it also goes into something on balance, right? All these things that you did, it's very tempting to go all in and put every bit of time and effort into building that empire. How did you maintain that balance though? I mean, you talk about the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the social. How did you do that? Because the temptation that, at least in some of the guests that we've talked to prior to the show, is very compelling to just put everything in and forget about that stuff.
Well, it's all synergistic, physical, spiritual, financial. Yeah. Those are all areas that I believe that contribute to happiness, right? So what I do is I schedule them into my phone now. Back then I used a Franklin day planner,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But, so I was like, every day I'm going to walk for 30 minutes. 3 times a week I'm going to go do weights at, the gym, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just scheduled. I don't miss it. That's just like a meeting, right? The spiritual stuff, easy. Wake up in the morning, meditate. 10 minutes minimum, right? Like minimum. And then go do 30 minutes of elliptical, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know what I'm saying? So like you schedule that. Same thing with business stuff. But with business, there's so much stuff you can do. It's not that simple.
Right.
And that's where I brained up everything onto a piece of paper, and I prioritized A's and most important, B's and medium, C's and crappy. Yeah. I take my A's and I number them 1 through 100 or whatever, and then I schedule them on my calendar. So you just, every day you're only doing one big, maybe financial thing, one physical thing, one spiritual thing. And that's like the baseboard. If you can get those done, anything else is extra credit.
I love it. And it's something that is obvious that keeps your mental state very well there. And there were some things that I had read, and it comes up over and over again. And that's the mental health, right? The mental health is incredibly important. And And I'm just wondering, this is so awkward. I apologize that it sounds so awkward, because I remember when I first started listening to you, you actually brought up things on anxiety attacks and overcoming different things like this. But as far as further mental health is concerned, so there's that balance. How do you maintain that mental health? Because success,
it's hard, man.
Is it?
You caught me today. Actually, I woke up with like crazy freaking anxiety, like no reason. Good sleep,
Yeah.
all things. But it's all about great responsibility. Sometimes we think when we have millions of dollars and millions of dollars assets and real estate and crypto and all this and Lambos, and they're all, if you got, even if they're paid for, you feel like you're going to be secure, but you're not. And that's something I still struggle with. How I get through that is just spend a few minutes of gratitude, just for being alive, the health you have, the family, the wife, the children, the dog, relatives, brothers, sisters, whatever you've got, you just got to spend some time being grateful for that. And why my anxiety, I'll be very transparent with you guys.
Yeah.
One of my companies has been selling a lot, and the president of that particular company is like, bro, we are on track to sell this astronomical, dollar amount. And he's like, I need $8 million cash in 2 days to fund, because I have to buy the inventory from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Put it on a boat, ship it here, but we have to wire it in 2 days. $8 million, 2 days. Like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, he goes, well, otherwise I could just tell the sales team we can't fill the order,
Wow.
And I'm like, and so these guys went flying around the country. My guys try to get, and this is super stressful. Like, so even if you're doing really well now, and the problem right now, a lot of business owners are feeling is the banks are very scrutinous.
Yeah.
On financials and revenue and profitability and burn rates and all those things for credit lines. And the tough thing is interest rates now for most business lines are 8 to 10%.
Yeah.
And they were like 3% before, 4%. So the cost of money is a lot higher. So a lot of business owners, maybe some of the people watching this, are feeling that strain, Yeah. And that creates anxiety, because if you have hundreds of employees, they all depend on your excellence and leadership, and confidence to that. But it's all relative. All numbers are relative, just like Steve Jobs, he had to borrow like $100 million from Bill Gates to meet Apple payroll.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. Like Elon Musk was one payroll away from bankruptcy.
Wow.
Entrepreneurship is crazy, man. So the gratitude though helps, but just thinking clearly to chunk it down, to chunk out your problems, and then to actually mentally be able to face worst case scenario. Okay. Worst case scenario, what happens here? I'm not like exploded, dead or whatever, vaporized. Maybe I have to just slow my roll a little bit and figure this thing out. Maybe I have to bring in some outside capital. Maybe I need to reduce some aging inventory, or sell real estate or stocks or crypto to generate money for the core business. You just got to correlate the mathematical returns,
Right.
But that never goes away. And as an entrepreneur, like mental health is the most important thing, because why people quit, this is year 32. I've been doing business.
Man.
Year 32.
Wow.
Year 32. And the key to endurance is really this physical, financial, spiritual balance. You have to have that dialed in as much as you can.
Yeah, man. Thanks for, what I appreciate about that is the fact that not only you're willing to be vulnerable on that, but as you were talking about, my anxiety went up when I heard about the 8 million and the interest and all that. But then as soon as you started talking about gratitude, it was funny, because it was like this mental war going on. Even though it was your story, you can actually see how that really impacted and made stuff for what they were, rather than, to your point, it exploded into mass chaos of stress and worry. But thanks for going there, because that's a difficult thing to go to for a lot of people. There's no doubt about that, because it goes along to something you said. I believe you had said something like this. It's not that you're afraid of failing. It's about being judged. I mean, that's a lot of people that you have riding on that too. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, life's crazy, man. Like, but that's part of the adrenaline, because here's the good news is, as you make it through these hurdles,
yeah.
the bigger and bigger hurdles become less of a hurdle. I remember when we were in new business, they're like, hey, we need to raise money. It's like 30 years ago. We need to raise 10 grand, man, to be able to fund the sale we did to the small. And I'm like, 10 grand? Where the hell am I going to get 10 grand, man? Like, so I'm calling like my mom, hey, mom. She's like, I don't got 10 grand. Yeah. So finally, I had to just go sell more stuff and hustle on weekends to raise money to like raise that. So it's all relative, of that. And I'm sure when I'm a billionaire, and when you guys out there are billionaires, you're gonna have the same problem as Elon and Steve Jobs as that goes, because expansion is painful. But if it's not painful, you're probably not pushing the envelope hard enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to shift just a little bit, kind of on maybe some of your mentor, the mentor angle a little bit. So it seems to me, and I have someone that I know quite well that's in a job that they absolutely despise. It just sucks. They really hate it. And when you talk to them, I'm like, hey, why don't you look at, not even necessarily entrepreneurship. It's like, find another job or do something on your own. And it's funny to watch, because this individual will create this whole pathway of why whatever it is that he's going to look at won't work. And it seems to me, as I talk to different people that are in that situation, that people kind of have this like self-imposed glass ceiling that they feel like, this is what I deserve and I don't deserve anymore. In your mentorship side of things, how do you get people past that? What are some of the strategies that you teach other people to push past those things? Because like you said, yeah, I can go out and I just need to hustle, and I can sell some more sunglasses or get a better looking gal and, get what I need. But it sounds like you didn't really have that in your, how you say that, in your career. You were always able to kind of keep pushing past that self-imposed glass ceiling as you rose. Yeah. What advice would you give someone else that is struggling with that?
Well, two things. And you'll have to remind me because my ADD is insane, but mentorship and also pain and pleasure association, using the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. And I'll explain both those. So the mentorship thing is important, because if you hang out with people that are this level, like this, where they're making, 100 million a year, 50 million a year. Yeah. And you're plodding along making $1 million to 5-10 million a year, you feel like a loser, but they won't make you feel like a loser. They're just like, dude, you're just not doing this and this, just do this and that. Yeah. So when you hang around them, you're watching them do the habits and you start doing it, you start getting mentored by osmosis, right? Yeah. So that's the number one of the easiest ways. But the second thing is, usually those people stuck in that 9-to-5 job don't hang out with those circle of people, right? They're with their peers, like around the water cooler. They're like, hey, bro, how much you making? 30 grand, 50 grand, 60. Oh, dude, I might get a raise to like 61. Yeah, it's like, and they think that those peers are like their best peers making 70. So it's like that's their thermostat within their box, right? Because they're not seeing what more can be done. But the thing about it is what I call the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. And this is freaking morbid. Do I have permission? I mean, this is not like vulgar, absolutely, but it's morbid. Okay.
Go for it.
So I want you guys to visualize this, where you are today, however you are financially, physically, spiritually. And I want you to actually to go forward 10 years, 20 years, right? I want you to think when you're 50, 60, 70, 80, right? And if you're in a position making this much money and you're exercising this much and your mental health and spiritual health is like this, where will you be? I mean, will your wife want to stay with you if you can't even provide? Will your children respect you when they see this example of laziness? Will you be a 75-year-old man that's, hi, welcome to Walmart, just to get food? Yeah. That's terrible. does your wife leave you for some other dude that can just provide stability and certainty for her children? Or are you going to fail your family? You know, and is she going to start having kids with that other dude, and all your children are going to call him daddy now?
Yeah.
Are you going to deal with that and be a lonely old man? Okay, now go back to today. All right, you can make a difference today because you're not 75, 80 years old. You're still young and have energy. You have your wits, and you can take action today. So, like, you know, as long as you have your wits to you and some energy and your physical and mental health, if you do have that, you should be very grateful because you can really change that destiny. Now, there's some people that cannot change that destiny as much because they're physically disabled or mentally disabled or whatever it may be. Well, then it's your job to have so much abundance you can help those people, right? You see what I'm saying? I mean, so not everybody can do that, but if you are capable, then you better use that gift that God gave you, because your life and your energy is leasing the energy of the creator of the universe, right? Yoda, you know, the force, like it's on lease to you. So will you use it or will you squander it? That's the mentality, you know?
I love how real that is. It wasn't a kumbaya answer. Basically, it scared the crap out of me.
Me too. Every day.
Future and see all that stuff, but it makes a sense of realism because it really is up to you to make a difference. I'm just paraphrasing this stuff, but it's so powerful because it's so simple. And if you exercise it right now, it'll get you over that hump. And I'm wondering though, I'm sure you shared that a number of times to people that you mentor. Are there any times that they just stay there? I mean, literally, they just stay there. And what is it that you do? Do you just say, "Hey, I can't do this anymore," or do you just Because I know ultimately it's up to that individual to make the difference. But
there's got to be enough pain and pleasure to drive them. So if they have enough pleasure in that they can pay their bills, and I don't know, DoorDash and have Netflix and buy a new iPhone every few years. If they can do that, a lot of people are fine. They're like, well, it's not painful enough. So your brain doesn't know the difference between visualized pain and real pain. So that's why you have to do this exercise if you want to push yourself. Because then you will create a self-imposed anxiety attack to create action so that you're not in that situation. If you were in that situation today, if your wife was just about to leave you for some other dude, your children are about to call someone else daddy, you were about to get stuck as a Walmart greeter, what would you do? Well, let me ask you this. If someone, kidnapped a family friend or family member, and said you had to perform this well, like, would you do it? Like, you do anything you could to like preserve that of what is important to you. So it's just a sense of urgency. Do you have that internal drive and push? And lots of entrepreneurs have a lot of this stressor because it's just mentally generated in their own head, but that's what generates them to be better. So it's kind of a disease because guess what? There are monks, all over the world that have no material possessions that are very happy, So it doesn't mean you need to have all that, but it depends what drives you, you could be happy as a monk that has no material possessions, but has ultimate gratitude and satisfaction, the bare necessities to survive. Or, you could create abundance, It's tough to say what truly the path to happiness is, though, because sometimes I think maybe those monks wonder what it would be like to create something in this physical planetary world of something different, Maybe they have an idea, they want to invent something, It's all what you want,
Man,
weird, huh?
No, I love it. This is great stuff. I need to do that more often. The realistic instead of, oh, look, I'm going to visualize what it's going to be like, without creating that sense of anxiety. And anxiety in this instance is a positive thing because it acts as an impetus for that change, that personal change. I've never heard it phrased like that, man. And I got to ask Gary over here too, because he's a serial entrepreneur as well. He started so many different things. I'm just wondering, Gary, what's your take on everything going on here?
No, I think it's one of the things I appreciate about what you said, Dan, is that you're not advocating a one size fits all approach.
No.
In the sense of, yeah, some people like a minimalist type of living may be perfect. That may be exactly what they need. Or, you know, someone else, like in your case, it's the creating of abundance to therefore help other people is what's important to you. You know what I mean? I think that's really cool, because so many times you know, on social media or whatever, you got to have the Lambo to be happy. You know what I mean? You got to have this to be happy. You got to have that, where it's not a one size fits all. You know, I mean, I think back, it's funny how you kind of trigger different thoughts, but we talked to a gal who lives on a ranch in Wyoming, and, you know, now with different technology and stuff like that, she can live where she wants to live. She can do what she wants to do and do it on her terms, which I think is really, really cool. I guess the other thing, so you talked about those two parts. The first part you talked about is mentorship. What would you suggest to someone that, you know, okay, my buddy who's sitting in that 9 to 5, that's not happy, not satisfied, his peer group is the water cooler guys and gals. What would you say to someone like that? How does he find a mentorship group that can kind of get him out of that mindset? Where do you go?
First things first. So if you're single, you're gonna have to ask yourself. If you're married, you're gonna have to ask your wife, and she's gonna ask you. And you just gotta write down, answer the question, what do you want? What do you want physically, financially, spiritually? What do you want? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? Who do you want to be? Write that down, right? Once that's written down, then you've got some fire, right? Burning.
Yeah.
We call it fusion reactor spark.
Yeah.
Most people are just barely running off like burnt, charred coal or whatever, wood. It's not even hot anymore, you know, like there's no fire. But once you're clear on that, it's really especially easy if you have a wife, because you tell her, you hold me accountable to this, and I'll hold you accountable to what you need to do. What do you need to do? What do I need to do? We're a team. We're going to do this. Then you're going to find your mentor. Now, to find your mentor, I have found all my mentors from giving. I haven't paid a mentor.
Wow.
But I have found out what their pain is and tried to solve that. So one of my great mentors is a guy named Jeff Flam, 30 years mentor, real estate mogul, right? Like amazing dude, and techie dude. And for him, I just showed up to his political and also charitable events, sat by him and donated as much as I could, and gave brought as many friends as I could. And then he says, "You're a good dude, you know, how can I help you?" And I'm like, well, back in the day, I asked him, I don't understand commercial real estate. He's like, ooh, that's what I do, man. Well, let me show you how the math works. And I'm like, cool. See, but he wouldn't have opened his time to me if I didn't like sit and help him with his charity for like Indian reservation children scholarships for education. You know, he wanted something there to help him, you know. Now you can pay for a mentorship program, but a lot of guys on social media, I don't want to upset them, but a lot of these guys who have these training programs and mentorship masterminds and all that, they're not really making money in real life doing real things like that, like running a business. Right. They're doing it off membership subscriptions and selling coaching programs and all this kind of stuff. And it's not like they've actually done it. So it's hard to teach what you haven't done. So that's why most of the mentors you're going to find that are the greatest are probably like not selling you something. You know, they're just like so busy being philanthropic and building their companies. You have to actually find them. Right?
Yes.
That's at least what I found. You know, the real ones, the real Jedi, the real Yoda. He's hiding in a hut somewhere making stew.
or you fix their ham radio by chance and they come to you, and that's pretty cool too.
Hey, let's talk real quick with Lambos and all that. You guys, cars, a lot of people go, Dan, you have like all these cars, the Lambos, McLarens, and all those Ferraris and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but that's just inventory.
Yep.
So during the pandemic, I went through like 18 vehicles because I would buy them for sticker and sell them for over 50 to 100 grand over, and so that was just simply inventory. And I drove them very little, really my happiness is not Lambos. Actually, I'm not even excited sitting in a Lambo. I'm like, this is high maintenance, and it's like driving a low rider minivan that's terrible on gas mileage, right? Terrible stereo, garbage. The Ferrari's okay, but I'm like, it's not even all-wheel drive. I'm gonna eat it going around the corner, right? So like those cars really have it doesn't raise my pulse or anything like that. What raises my pulse is helping people, finding a problem, doing that. And the craziest thing is like spending time with my grandchild or my daughter walking in the park or my son just grabbing steak and eggs or something like that, walking in the park, or just even like talking to you guys right now. Like, to me, this is actually greater than toes in the sand, Bora Bora, drop 200 grand on a vacation flying out there on the G5. Like, it does no thrill to me. I was talking to my friend Ryan. He just transacted his company. I think about the 8-figure deal, right, to him. And he bought a G5 jet. And I'm like, dude. And he posts himself on Instagram. I'm like, that's a nice jet. So you're flying your family ever? He goes, hell no. You know how much gas that thing takes to pilot and all that? He goes, I sublease that and I make actually about 110,000 a month, 120,000 a month leasing that jet out. And I Section 179 depreciated it. And dude, I fly Southwest, bro. Crazy. I love those free peanuts. I'm like, he's like, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to drop 30 grand in fuel to go to Disneyland. Are you freaking crazy?
Oh my goodness.
I think that's what's important is I think so much of it comes down to intent, because I'm a little bit like you. I love vehicles. I honestly do. I'm building a 56 Chevy truck with a Dodge Viper V10 in it right now. But it's what, like you said, to me, I guess I'm kind of like you, is it's the intent of what it can do for me, whether it's the sell on the back end or, but if you can find something where you get a little bit of pleasure in the meantime, where you get to run that Lambo or whatever it is, and then you get to use it as inventory or to make a profit on the back end, man, that's a win-win. But if you take the Lambo and you're just using it and for clout, I'm not saying clout's bad either. If that clout can make you a profit, that's pretty cool also. Yeah. But if that clout is just to feel good about yourself,
cars ain't going to get you good. Cars are not going to, if you're a single guy or girl, like, it's not going to find you a great woman or great man. I mean, it's not a good one and stuff like that. When I met my wife, it was like I was driving some $200 Chevy Celebrity rust bucket.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of personality and I had sunglasses. So, I had fake sunglasses. I mean, so like the best relationships are built not off material core. It's built off of intrinsic connection, right?
Oh man,
100%.
And we're all gonna die anyway. So this money, I was talking to my son, I was like, dude, so here's the trust, and here I have things structured. I don't want you to squander it, but here's how the investments return. This is what you need to do. He said, why are you talking like that, Dad? I'm like, because everything is impermanent. Like the Buddhist monks teach about impermanence. The monks teach about that. And every great thing that we think we built, every great castle will be washed away to nothing. We can't take it with us, all we got's our energy and soul, man. That's all we got.
Yeah. So how do you, like you said before, entrepreneurship is a lot of ups and downs and instability and that type of thing. Like right now, there's a lot of economic turmoil. There's political stuff. There's inflation. There's all these different things. What is your strategy on how do you maintain focus throughout all of that? Because I've seen the entrepreneurs that tend to struggle are the ones that almost attack the issues too much, and they start chasing the problems as opposed to like running what they do. What's some of your strategies around that?
During economic turmoil, so the last one we had 2008, and then we had like 9/11, 2001-ish, and then we had some times in the 90s. I don't remember as much there, but since 2001 and then 2008, those are two big corrections I've lived through, and then now we're going through another correction, right? The most important thing for business owners is to take your revenue and your operating costs and make sure they're in alignment for net profitability, so you don't run out of cash. Because like banks and financial institutions and that, when you're talking leverage, loans, and stuff to floor inventory, they get real worried when you start making as much money. So you have to not pivot too quickly, but you got to do it so that you're not running out of ammo, you know? The thing too also is it's easy to just quit and say, I want to start a new thing, and quit. I want to start a new thing. But, you know, consistency really is the key, I think, is continually doing that. When you're working with your company, though, if you are running a business, though, I mean, there's only a few things you're going to look at. You're going to look at employee costs. You're going to look at marketing costs. You're going to look at operational costs. You're going to look at outsourced costs, logistic costs, customer service. You know, you got like the breathing entity there. And there's certain and you have sales teams. So you have certain areas that are bringing in revenue and certain areas that are maintaining revenue. So what typically you're going to do is you're going to bring the whatever maintains revenue, you're going to try to bring that to a level, but still like customer service and logistics. And what I usually do is I measure a KPI, key performance indicator, of every employee. And what I'll do is I'll bring, and I'll set a certain line. So anybody with not hitting a performance threshold, we'll just let them go, right? People that, and then, so let's say I save, this is an example I did like 3 months ago. I saved $300,000 a month in burn rate in one of our companies. $300,000.
Oh, wow.
But I took 10% of that, 30 grand, and gave the current team raises that were highly efficient.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Right? Yeah.
So, but you know, they say 20% of your people do 99% of your work or something.
Yeah.
The rest of the people just sit around the water cooler bitching all day, you know? So it's better to pay your people that really care more if you can. And just kind of trim off the fat, right? So you're running lean and you're running mean. And it's crazy because we did this, and profitability we compressed incredible. We made a lot more than normal. Yeah. Actually doing a little bit less revenue than all the free pandemic money in this one of our companies. So it's doable, but that's what mentors are for, to teach you, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, because most people, they're not going to figure this out. Well, they're not. I wouldn't have figured this out. I just had to have some old guys tell me what to do because they've been through 4 cycles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
For a guy that didn't do good in school, you could teach an MBA class at the highest institution any day. Yeah. I mean, this is everything you talked about, the numbers, about human resource, about everything. You can literally teach that MBA class.
It's Venice Beach on a larger scale.
That's it's Venice Beach on a larger scale. But
it's so simple. But when we get smart and we figure out most of it, we're probably close to 50 years old, right? Or over.
Yeah.
And then maybe we're going to work maybe till we're 60, 65, you know, because after that, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe we want to just meditate or something. But it's too bad though, because that knowledge though that's what my passion is, to pass that knowledge forward.
Yeah.
Because imagine if you knew like what we knew when you were like 20.
Yes.
Like, holy mackerel! Like that's like saying if I could go back to high school or college with what I know now, like, but you can know that. You just talk to old guys like us, and then like you can know now at your young age if you're watching this.
Ironically, I just had a conversation like this with one of the kids I coach in rugby here. It was he lost it on the field, and then we took him. Let me tell you what happens.
Well,
I didn't want to hear it, but he heard it anyway, man.
It's crazy. It seems like a lot of times when you're young, like all you can see is the tree. Like that tree is right in front of your face, and you need the old dudes to look at the forest. You know what I mean? To give you that, like, all right, this is how this. Let's look at some perspective on this whole situation. You know what I mean? And that's what I appreciate about you, Dan, is you also take it to other levels. And I've seen this in your podcast and on your LinkedIn and everything else. Is you do look at that whole picture, like the physical, the mental, taking time to meditate. If you would have told me, let's roll back like 10 years ago, and somebody who was really successful, they wouldn't mention meditation. That was almost like a weakness.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all about the grind, man. You jump in and you do it. So it's kind of cool to see that
or
shift.
the ruthlessness too. There's a ruthless nature about money sometimes. And one of the things that impressed me when I was listening to something, you were being interviewed by someone, and you said that you felt a need to deliver what you promise. And a lot of times in sales and such, it's about the sale, man. Get it done, it's done. But there's a sense of integrity that you bring to the table that sadly is missing most of the time, and that is to make good on what you promise to do. And that's why it's easier to take the advice that you share, because I know it's coming from that point.
Yeah, our ugly Unicorn Hedge Fund's a perfect example. We launched it in June of last year, right? Yeah. And then the Bitcoin market dropped like 70%,
Yeah.
And our pitch was risk mitigation. So a lot of people like owned crypto on Coinbase or FTX, hopefully not. But most people have gotten their butts kicked through the years, right? And I was like, the whole thesis of our fund is risk mitigation, because if you drop 50%, you got to do 100% to go back to where you were,
Yeah.
And so from June to now, we beat Ethereum Bitcoin index by some huge numbers. We publicly post them. They're third party audited and admin too. We beat NASDAQ, Dow, S&P as well, which was cool because the big thing was finding out what people's problems were. So we weren't telling people to put their life savings in it, but like to be on our fund, you have to be an accredited investor, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to have a good net worth. But I'm like, you should have maybe like 5% maybe exposure in crypto, but you just don't want to be like that dude who didn't buy Microsoft and Apple in the 90s. Like, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like, you want a little bit of exposure, but not like you would have anxiety if it went to zero, exposure. And so what happened, it was crazy though, is we had these big like calls. I'd say, hey, just jump on, we'll educate you for free, answer questions. So we had all these like family office guys and like that. Then Bridger's like, okay, we're gonna do the commitment capital call stuff this week. He's my partner in the fund. And he's like, dude, I can't believe it. I thought we were gonna maybe raise $1 million this week. We raised $10 million in 1 week. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, these guys said they, and the big one was, I asked some of the bigger investors, like, hey, why did you invest with us? They're like, I had my CPA, my attorney on the call, and you answered all their questions, like the right hooks. And you were actually more interested in discovering what our journey was and how you could guide us through that, and so that applies to anything. Is really, people get so hard onto the sale instead of, okay, what is the problem? How do you feel about it? Have you helped other people solve this problem? Can you solve this problem? Right?
Yeah.
And just do that consistently. So with any business, that's the secret, is problem solving, right? Not selling, really. You don't even have to sell, in that I have to identify problems and solutions. So it's not.
That's genius, man. I mean, again, so simple, but it's honest, and it's about, when I just wrote that down, you're more interested in their journey. I mean, wow. How much better it would be from a connection standpoint and from a trust building standpoint than a hard sale. It's about the concern about that other individual. And it just goes back to all this soft skill stuff that really makes an impact in every arena, for both the individual being sold to, but also for the individual selling. It's amazing.
Well, one of the things Dan said earlier too is abundance.
Yes.
And I think that has a lot to do with it, is that kind of that abundance mindset.
Yeah.
Instead of the old school, like, you have to lose for me to win.
The scarcity mentality.
You know what I mean? And that'll work for a while. And I've seen some people be very successful doing that. But at the end of the day, the ones that seem to be happier, more content, and are really making a difference are the people like you, Dan, that have that abundance mindset. You know what I mean? Like, let's fix your problem and continue to fix your problem. And if you know anybody else that has a problem, I'll fix that one too.
You're not going to operate for decades unless you can truly solve problems. You know, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, and some of those big people have big problems. Like if you go to my LinkedIn and if you read some of the testimonials, I don't say this to impress you, but impress upon you that like VPs of Amazon and Microsoft, all these Intel and all these different companies have written these big, like paragraph long testimonials, because what I simply did is found out what their pain was. Like, how do we solve their biggest problem? And I always ask people, what are you working on and how can I help? And I can't solve everyone's problems, but I can guarantee you that there's a 90% chance I know somebody who can solve that problem.
Yes.
Right? Yes. You're like, I got this tax problem. Well, I'm not a CPA, but hey, I know the greatest one in the world, and then solves their problem. You know, I need a litigation attorney. I got this guy, he's a pit bull. You know, like you just connect the dots and then solve people's problems. And then they're like, how can I repay you? Can you say something nice about me publicly? It would be really nice.
Yeah.
Truthful, like from the heart. And they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
What's funny,
so it's actually very easy, you know, just find out, ask, you know.
Yeah. And what's funny, what you just said about that is a lot of times when you're willing to give like that, people are looking at you like, what's your angle? Right? And in this case, it's just, there is no angle, man.
There is an angle though. They ask me that, like high level people are asking, well, what's your angle? Well, what do you want? And I'm like, look, you know what I do. I run the hedge fund. I have computer companies. If there's anybody that has a problem in those areas, just give them my phone number, okay? And maybe I can help them, maybe I can't, you know? And that's why the lead flow, like, is insane. My phone, I mean, get 5-6 deals a day.
Oh my God.
Because they're doing the same thing. They're like, I don't know how to deal with this, but, you know, I had one guy call me. He's like, he lost $8 million in crypto. Because his like wallet password forgot how to, you know, blah, blah, blah. So he contacted me. I'm like, oh, this is how you get around this and that. And actually you do have it. And here it is. It's like, holy crap, I got my $8 million. And he's like, can I give you $1 million? You know, I'm like, you can invest with us or buy some computers or something if you want, if you have a need, you know? And so, you know, people are reciprocal. You help, they'll help back.
Man, oh man, this has been it's such an incredible experience to hear you speak, and the level. I mean, anyone that's out there, you got to listen to Dan's Millionaire Code podcast. I mean, just all the different things that come out, the nuggets of wisdom, and it's just like buddies talking. There's nothing that he's trying to sell. So you gotta listen to it, because this wisdom continues through that podcast, but also check out his Instagram and everything else that he's doing, because what you're hearing here is legit. And this just reinforces everything I've read about you, Dan. I mean, it really does. And I can't thank you enough for making the time to talk to two schmoes that just reached out to you.
No, it's fine. I love helping people, you know. I've had schmoes reach out to me and I, you know, talk to them, whatever. And, you know, if I have the time, I'll schedule it in, you know, and it always, and this is, so it's not totally self, but it always comes back, because people know what I'm looking for and what I do. And you guys probably have humongous Rolodexes, and people are going to have humongous problems with computers or crypto, and they're going to need help. You know, I mean, so you're going to, you know, but it's going to score you a lot of good points in their mind if you can help solve their problem.
Yes.
You know? They're going to be like, those are good friends. You know?
Exactly.
Maurice and Gary, they found my solution.
Well, no, I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us, but I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind staying on for just 1 minute. There's one thing that came up after we come up. Okay. Hey, thanks, Dan.